What's up? This is one of my hobbies. Of course, my hobbies are different than other people's hobbies, but that's okay, right? We all have different hobbies. Mine is one of numismatics, or I'm a numismatic. I like to collect coins, specifically the coins that I get in change when I pay for things in cash. Um, Big thing I've been working on the last 5 years or so is just doing this a whole bunch. And essentially, this is the first time that I've now got a 2020 penny. I finally got my first 2020 penny back in June. So I'm pretty pumped about that because I haven't had one yet. It's been that long. Also, today is my 1 year anniversary of streaming on Twitch, where I started off doing Team Fortress 2. But now, I'm getting a little bit more personal. Because who doesn't like seeing what I do in my spare time that I hide from dates, right? Alright, so let's go here, and then I need to update. I'm just updating a spreadsheet right now, so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I don't even know if that's the best spot for it. Yeah, that'll work. I'm just updating a spreadsheet right now to do the totals. I've done a whole lot of the work, by the way. You can see over here that I've sorted all the coins based on years, um, and that's a lot of the hard work. What's up, Wacky? Welcome to stream. Um, so I'm going to do some of the copper pennies in just a minute here. And then it shall be a giant chart, which looks something. I'll show you what it'll look like, though, if you're curious what I'm doing. The chart will essentially look something like this when I'm all done. And it'll show the distribution of pennies by year and by like type of penny on a nice little handy chart. The reason I'm doing that is because eventually, or at least I have a master copy, but I have a master copy showing essentially how common pennies are to be found in change. So, if a billion pennies were made in the year 1930, how many of those 1930 pennies still exist? What's the radioactive decay constant of a penny? Have they all been melted down, turned into bullets, lost in the ocean? Are they still being saved by old people who've yet to kick the bucket, etc.? Started doing this a while back just because I was taking a science class on radioactivity and all that stuff, and I was like, you know what I could study? I could study pennies. Now, of course, it's not the most interesting hobby, but it's really, really freaking cheap. And that's kind of the best part. So what is this thing right here? So I'm just fixing the chart so that it's ready. Ready for everything. So now, the one thing is I need to add this real quick. Half-life penny. Yeah, exactly, dude. I want to know the decay constant of a penny. Did you know the half-life symbol is actually the symbol in radioactivity for a decay constant? Mm-hmm. The actual formula for half-life is 1 over the decay constant. The decay constant is the lambda symbol. Go figure. I see. Okay, so this is pretty much ready. So now, of course, I just need to start counting all the coins here, and then updating the chart in real time. I think I'll do something like that for now. Okay, just for now, because I don't need everything. Yeah, so these ones right here. Let's see, where's the camera? Oh yeah, the camera's over here. These ones are all the copper pennies that I got. So they're from the year 1982 and before. So everything here is going to be copper. All the other stuff on the table are the shitty, boring zinc pennies, which are still out there, of course. Which is like 2019 is actually over here. Can't exactly see it unless I do this, I guess. So here's all the 2019 pennies over here. Boring. And then here's 2010 through 2018. And then I've got all my 90s pennies, and then this is like the 80s essentially. 80s, 90s, 2000s, the teens, and then the 2020s. Yeah, dude. So, what I've got, of course, is a nice little jar. Oh, you can't even see it. Bummer. Let me fix this. Hang on a second. No. No. Oh, okay. Well, there's that. There we go. Okay, let's do this for now. It'll be easier. The big thing that I need to do at the moment is essentially figure out which years I have right here. and then I'll add them to my chart here in just a minute. Not the most exciting, but I really get a kick out of this because anytime I sort through pennies, like this one's 1981, anytime I sort through pennies, I'm always curious, what the life cycle of that penny was. This one is 1952. I used to work with somebody who was born in 52. That is an old ass penny right there. Check this penny out. I don't know if it'll focus or not. Might not be able to see it. Let's see here. Penny? Penny? 1952 penny? Nope, probably can't see it. Oh well. It's 1952. I'll get a microscope camera for the future, but for now, it's kind of lame. But today is my 1 year anniversary of streaming, Wacky. I've been streaming for a year now. This is a 78D. Well, that's a good penny right there. Generally, you get between 15 and 18, maybe almost 20% copper pennies, but it's usually a lot lower. Oh shit, what happened? Wonder why that cut off. Huh. Oh, I know why. Hang on a second. All right. Whoop. Okay. Should be good. See if that works. Yes. What? Where'd it go? Son of a bitch. Is that good? Yeah. Uh-oh. All right. Pennies mode is back. Yeah, that's so I use Google Hangouts on my cell phone to connect all the calls. So it makes it a little bit easier to do everything. So I'm not using like a Twitch app. So I've got a camera connected to my PC, and I've got a camera on my phone, and then I just pipe it through to my streaming PC, and I capture the Hangouts video that's coming through my phone. Works pretty well. What is this one? Oh, okay. So for the 82 pennies, which is the most interesting year of pennies, you have some of the pennies that have a D mark and some of them that have no D mark on them, meaning Denver or no Denver mint. But so there's four types of pennies from the year 1982. There's a 1982D, there's a 1982 that's not D, as in no mint mark on it, and then there's also non-copper versions that are 82D and not 82. So like half the pennies from 82 are made of copper, and about half the pennies from 82 are made of zinc. So 82 is kind of a special year because if you have a penny and it's copper, all you have to do is flip the copper penny in your hand, flip it really fast, and it'll make a high-pitched ringing sound if it's made of copper. If it's not made of copper, then it's going to make no sound, essentially, meaning it's made of zinc. So far I'm finding this is a 1970S, meaning it was made in the San Francisco Mint. So that's actually kind of a cool one to get, because I don't get a lot of the San Francisco pennies. It's like they're all gone or something. This is a 73D, and again I have aspirations of essentially having a microscope to like show each one. But since pennies are probably going to go away soon, yeah, 1982 I think was a pretty cool year after all. But I mean, again, 82 they're pulling all the copper out of pennies. So if they're pulling all the copper out of pennies in 82, what do you think, Wacky, that they were doing with all the pennies and the copper in the year 1982? Think about that. What were we doing in 1982? Yeah, I'm definitely flexing my massive wealth right now. Yes, I have a job. Yes, I have a decent savings. But it does look like I'm Poe right now. I'm just like counting the change. Guys, I need to afford bread. And of course, it is what it is. Yeah, my wealth in copper pennies. Like I'm gonna have so many copper pennies when they basically get rid of copper pennies. Like I'm gonna be the copper penny king. Like selling copper pennies, choosing your year on eBay. It's gonna be huge. I've got the market cornered. Like you think Dogecoin is intense? Wait till you see my coin collection. That's a 78 with no mint marks. That's not too bad. A 73D. It's a pretty good one. Got 1981 with no mint mark. Now, when it says no mint mark, that means it came from like the East Coast. When it has a D on it, meaning the Denver mint, that means it's more of a West Coast penny. So as you might expect, I'm in Seattle. So pennies are going to move throughout time in people's pockets and their luggage, whatever. Truckers, things like that. But now, since everyone uses credit cards, it's like pennies hardly ever move. For the newer coins that you see over here, these are the 4 pennies that came from East Coast mints. Out of all the pennies that I've collected here in Seattle, 4 of these ones essentially came from the East Coast, like traveled here. So it's very rare. And then, of course, with the older pennies, you see it's much more common to find pennies that have no mint mark on them, meaning they've had more time to travel from the East Coast to the West Coast and just kind of settle over here. But by and large, you're going to see I mostly have West Coast pennies. Do the East Coast ones taste saltier? I've never tasted them. It's an excellent question. But in general, West Coast is the best coast. I mean, I know you need to know that. This is a 77D. And of course, if there's any old people watching, think about where you were when I call out some of these pennies. It's a 1980 from the East Coast. This is a 1982D, so this is like a West Coast penny. This is a 1980D, another West Coast penny. This might have passed through Snoop Dogg's hands at some point. 78D. And I'm always interested in what years that I miss, Like which ones do I not actually get? This is a 71S. This is a San Francisco penny. So I've got a 70S and a 71S now. So I need at least a 72 to start getting the 70s all filled in. By now, I have a lot of pennies. And I mostly have every penny from 1940 to present. There's a couple in the 40s I still don't have. But I've got a couple from the 30s and a couple from the 20s. And I just got a 27 back in January. It was a pretty cool find. This is another 1970 San Francisco penny. I have really good eyesight, by the way. I wouldn't recommend this if you have terrible eyesight. False. East Coast is First Coast. Yeah, like East Coast, Elite Coast, I think is what I've been going with to like pimp up the East Coast a little bit. I really have nothing against the East Coast, but I'm just saying. 78D. That's not a bad one. 13 minutes of coin counting. What more could you ask for out of an Iceman West stream, I need to move this one. I put it in the wrong pile. There we go. Every now and then I put pennies in the wrong pile, and I have to double check things before I finish counting them. It's quite the thing. By the way, I don't mean to like necessarily have crotch cam, but this is the best I can do with the camera. I can't zoom it in. It is what it is, but whatever. Unlike the Benjamins, who was Philly represent, you don't have to worry about it having traces of cocaine. Yeah, I just have to worry about getting ass pennies. That's the worst thing. There's some statistic out there. Ooh, 1941, no mint mark. So this is like kind of like one of those World War II pennies. I don't know if that comes through at all. This is a 1941 from the East Coast. No mint mark on it. It's a pretty intense penny. So I'll put 1941 right over here and keep it safe. It's very rare that I get stuff from the 40s and 50s. 1964 is incredibly common because that was the year after Kennedy was assassinated. So they just released a metric fuck ton of pennies to prop up the economy. Here's a 1966 with no mint mark. So that's a cool one right there. 1976. So we had a 66 followed by a 76 from the West Coast. That's pretty cool. 1978D. I wonder what Fleetwood Mac was doing in 78. 1975 with no mint mark from the East Coast. I'll take it. I'm only missing a 72 and a 79, and then I'll have at least one penny from the 70s. Here's a 59D. That's a pretty good one to get. Again, I don't get a lot from the 50s. It's very, very uncommon to get the 50s pennies. 1949, and this one, it looks like it has no mint mark. So this is a 45 penny with no mint mark. So that's another cool find. I didn't realize I had that one in there. Sometimes I just like put the pennies in and I forget about them. And then I look at them again when I'm doing this. And I'm like, oh my god, I got a 45 penny. 69 penny? Not yet. But I do have some in my collection. So here's a 64D. Like I said, the most common 64 pennies right here. 64D. So I got that sucker. 77D. I'll bring up the big chart in a minute that shows like the entirety of the collection. 75D, another excellent penny find. What else do we have? Let's see here. Is this $5 and change? My chart will total it up at the end, and I'll know. But I would guess it's probably like 350. I mean, usually I don't have any more than like 200, 300, 400 pennies. This one's probably a haul of about 350 pennies. Someone contacted me on Reddit yesterday, and they said, "Hey Iceman, I saw your post on Reddit, and that you collect coins. Would you like my giant jar of pennies? I live on Capitol Hill in Seattle. I'll bring them to you because I'm moving and I don't know what to do with them." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Haven't heard back yet, but I thought that was kind of unique. Here's a 46. So I've got a 45 and a 46. This one's actually kind of hard to read. I need to figure out 46S, I think. Sometimes if I put it under really bright light, it's easy to see the tiny mint mark, but this one is really hard to see. I don't know what to do. I can't even see it. 46S. We're going with 46S, which is cool because I don't think I've had a 46 from San Francisco mint at all. Title change: me counting my coins for burning team captain. Indeed. Numismatics Anonymous. I think no one knows what the word numismatic means because no one really collects coins anymore. Yeah, and the Great Depression's coming up, Wacky. I made a post on the Steam forums last night asking everybody how we should commemorate the Great Depression. And I'm thinking it'd be pretty amazing if you could unlock a crate with an unusual hat, like a special new crate called like the Depression crate. And if you unlock it with an unusual, it has an extra chance of getting an unusual. And like you can use Crate Depression unusuals and they become tradable or something. Like just something stupid where like one key plus one unusual unlocks the crate. So here's a 1979. Just got this sucker. 79, but no mint mark. So this 79 came from the East Coast. 82 with no mint mark. So that's cool. And again, these are all copper. Actually, hang on a second. Actually, this is non-copper. Yeah, doesn't make a ringing sound, so this one actually goes over here into the non-copper pile over there. I might actually have to check these ones. A lot of times when I put them into the jars for collecting, I'll do a quick spin of the coins to make sure I hear that high-pitched frequency so I know it's copper or not. But I think sometimes I'm either tired and I don't realize it, or like I think I hear it and I don't. Okay, so now we're good. So I shifted that one over. 78D. There's that sucker right there. You missed Great Depression by like 2 weeks? Dude, I was streaming starting at midnight that day. All night. So I started streaming on the 21st last year, like today 1 year ago. And I just, because I had vacation for a couple months, I just started streaming at like midnight. Because there was no competition at midnight. So starting from like midnight to 10 a.m. I was streaming. Then I'd go to bed, sleep all day, wake up, go for a bike ride, come back, and then I'd stream again from like midnight to whatever. And it was a really, really cool cycle because most of my original subscribers to the stream, or like followers, they were all from Europe. Here's a 72S. And so because everybody was from Europe, the night of the Great Depression, people kept telling me to open up crates, and I thought they were just trolling me because I'm like a new streamer, right? They're like, open up crates, Iceman, open up crates, you're gonna get unusuals. I'm like, nah. Finally, by like 7 in the morning, no, 6:30 in the morning, I started taking everybody seriously and was like, oh crap. So I popped over to like a drugstore to get some Steam gift cards. Came back, started opening crates, and had like 200 people watching me. It was pretty freaking epic, and I feel really fortunate because a couple people told me, hey, open up these crates. Here's a 59D, but it's like, it's in beautiful condition. Super shiny 1959D penny. It's really, 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 really nice condition. So now we've got a 59D, two 59Ds, but the other one's kind of old. Usually, if you get pennies from like the 40s, 50s, 60s, and they look really shiny and new, that means somebody died, and they like opened up a coin roll when like their family was selling off all their stuff, and they just like gave away all the change, not knowing how cool it is. So when I get really shiny old pennies, usually it means somebody died. Midnight Steam gift. Why did my phone shut off again? What the F? Hang on a second. I'll fix that. 1980D. That's a pretty good one. It's really shiny too. Coin roll hunting. It's a thing. 1976D. And 1977D. Most of these pennies are guaranteed not to have coronavirus. Newer ones, I'm not so sure. Honestly, I think my phone got too hot because it's charging right now. I think it shut itself off. I'm also still cooling down my apartment. I know I saw you in McVicker's chat the other day too. Do I clean them if they're rare? Not necessarily. I mostly just bag them up based on the decade, and especially if they're rare, I'll put them in like their own bag. And I've just been setting them aside. I haven't really had time to clean them up. The ones I do clean off with like a little bit of salt or a brush, like an old toothbrush, are the ones where I can't read the date, like it's all gummed up or it's just got a bunch of crap on it. And so a lot of times I'll do that. Alrighty, that should do it. Yeah, it says it turned off due to heat, so that's kind of a bummer. It's not really that hot, but whatever. If the phone says it's too hot, it's too hot. But anyways, so I just got to the very end of all the copper pennies. Of course, that's when it shuts off. So now, the next step, let's see here, sad TF2 news, I know. Do you pick up pennies on your bike ride? No. I am a wild only collector. So the only pennies I collect are the pennies that I get in my change. So if I don't get it in my change from buying stuff, I don't collect it. Occasionally, like cute girls at coffee shops will like give me coins, and I set those aside in my collection. Those are like the gifted coins that didn't find me through change, if that makes sense. So now this is where we get to play drug dealer with plastic bags, of course. And I'm just gonna start back with some of these super old pennies, and I'm gonna get these all blocked in real fast. I believe the first penny that I have is, in fact, I think I'll do it like this, and then I'll move this over here, something like this. For now, actually, wait, let's do it like this. Yeah, that a little bit bigger. Okay. All right. So apparently, the oldest one I've got for now, from the 40s, is a 41 with no mint mark. So all I'm gonna do is just put a little one right here. And then boom, 41's here. The chart begins. This is the part I enjoy immensely. 45 with no mint mark. So we got a 1945 penny. Again, let's end the war. This penny probably saw some action. Who knows? I don't know. 1940 with an S. So 1940S. Wait, is that? No, it's 46S. Yeah, it's 46S. So this one came from the San Francisco Mint just after World War II. So that's pretty cool. All right. So that's all the pennies from the 40s. Just 3. That's generally what it's like. Now I'll hit up the 50s. Ice coins. Hell yeah. OnlyFans coins. That's right. I mean, I still run the statistics on the pennies that people give me, but for the most part, I try to keep those separate from like the pennies that I got collection. Like, Marty, we have to go back to the future kind of thing. Like, these pennies have been floating around in time to be intercepted by me versus the ones that are floating around in time that people just give me. Like, those are their pennies, you know? Those pennies floated around for them. So I don't judge, of course, but a lot of times I think people are just excited to find old coins for me. Which is why I'm always hesitant to take coins from people, because that means like I'm taking ownership of the coin. So that's 3 coins from the 50s, so nothing too intense, right? So continuing on, I think the 60s, so I have a 64D, which is not so bad. That's a pretty easy one to find. And then I've got a 66 with no mint mark, so that's pretty easy. I started doing this back in 2012 is when I started the coin collection. And now, of course, put these ones into the bag, call them good. Again, one day people are going to be like, what are pennies? And I'll be like, hell yeah, I got pennies for days, bitches. It'd be like the dowry for a wedding. Wacky says, someone bought a car post-World War II, got a Corvette and change back. Holy cow. Somebody did something with these pennies way back in the day. I just don't know what it was. These have probably gone through so many hands. Like, I try to wash my hands a bunch while doing this, but on some level I just have to wash my keyboard and mouse when I'm done. 4 1973Ds. So, oh wait, I skipped some pennies. Hang on a second. 1970S, there's 2 of them. This is what happens. I get distracted sometimes. So, 2 pennies with a San Francisco Mint. 1971S, still kind of like post-hippies. So still pretty desirable. Damn it, it shut off again! Alright. 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 It is what it is. Hang on a second. Camera. It's too big. Okay, I'm going to do this for a minute and let the phone cool down. I don't think I really need to show the pennies at the moment, you know, whatever. I know it's way cooler to show them, but I'll just have to wait a minute. I'll just like prove, here it is. Just now thinking about 4chan and TF2 interest would maybe leak into this, but realized xenophobic comments would come from those people. Wait, what are you talking about? Explain. Counting my pennies to buy an actual webcam. That's right. 72S. So I got one of those suckers. That's cool. I've been waiting a while to do this collection, by the way. It's been too long that I've been putting it off. 4 pennies that are 1973 D. So we'll get some D pennies. D! Got the D! Oh, wait, did I say 4 from 1973 D? Yeah, I did. Counting my pennies to buy an actual webcam. That's right. Or like, how many pennies can I fit in my butt? 1974D. Moving on. Someone said something about ass pennies. I think it was Adam Carolla back in the day. 1975D. So I got that one in there. 1976D. 3 of those suckers. I don't like keep them bagged separately by year. I think that'd be way too hardcore. For me, it's just a matter of 2, 4, 6, 8 from 1977Ds. For me, it's just a matter of like getting them sorted by decade, because I could easily sort through it if I had to in the future to find something that somebody wants. Because on some level, I'm probably going to intercept valuable pennies at some point, like with like mistakes on them. And so it'll be pretty easy to figure out if I have it or not. Alright, so that's all the 70D pennies. You can see we're starting to build the chart. It's getting there. Again, not touching my face, trying to be pretty good about not rubbing penny shit on my face. Let's see here. 1975, no mint mark. Now, I don't really have to be keeping track of the mints, but also as part of the study, I realized East Coast, West Coast pennies. I just wanted to know like the general distribution based on the year. Again, it's a useless factoid that once pennies disappear, nobody will ever be able to study this ever again. So like, I'm at that point in history where I can do one of these like stupid science projects just to satisfy my own curiosity about the distribution of coins. I love it. Because I don't think anyone's ever done something like this before. Someone has to have, but as far as I can tell, I'm like the only freak that does this. If Firewoman East is out there, she probably does this too. Probably. So 4 pennies from 1980 that have a D, and they're made of copper. 3 from 1981 that are made of copper. Get that sucker in there. So zoom up a little bit here. When piggy banks fly, why would pennies travel? Well, pennies would travel because people have them in their pocket when they go from state to state, and they spend them. But because people don't use pennies that often anymore, they don't really travel. I think they stay mostly within states, and then, again, I brought some pennies back from New York when I went to New York back in May, and all the pennies I was getting were East Coast pennies that had no mint mark. So it was kind of cool to confirm my own theories to what's sticking around versus what's not sticking around. And it's just kind of a thing. 3 from 81 with no mint mark, so that's pretty easy. And then from 82, 2 more with no mint mark that are made of copper. So that was easy. Alright, so the copper pennies have been completed. Now to make things easier and get rid of like the bulk of the pennies, I'm going to do all the ones from like modern times. Oh, what's this? Okay, there we go. It says I have 15 San Francisco pennies. Oh, I see what I did. I gotta switch this up real quick. Hang on. Put those in the wrong column. Whoops. This is how you mess up your statistics. Okay, there we go. That looks good. Okay, we're good. It appears your bar chart isn't cooperating. Yeah. It's getting there though. So now, again, I'm going to skip over the 80s and the 90s. I'm going to go to the modern times. I'm going to turn the camera back on as soon as it cools down. Just going to let it charge a little bit first. But here's the next thing. Now I'm going to do all the 2019 pennies. So in terms of 2019, I've got these stacks. So it's 20, 40, 60, 71 pennies from 2019 this year. And they're all Denver pennies. Yeah, it's not cooperating. I appreciate the pun. So now I sorted these all yesterday. And so I've got these fat stacks of 2019 pennies. And they're just stacks of 20. I suppose I should verify that I wasn't. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, 2. Okay, so 20. Oh, come here. 40. These are all just boring ones. 60. 70. 71 pennies from 2019 that are all like shiny and brand new. So boring, crap coins. The ones that I would give to people who are homeless. I save the good ones for myself. 2019, that was 71 pennies. Dizam! It's a lot of freaking pennies. I can probably move this down a little bit. So 2018 pennies. Now, for all the teens, essentially I keep all of them together because there's really no reason for me to sort out all the pennies from the teen years. Like it doesn't matter at all. I just kind of throw them all into one bag because there's nothing special about 2010 through 2018. No errors that I've heard about so far. So let me check out the 2018s. It's like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 29. 29 2018 pennies. That's a good amount. To spoil the surprise, yes, I have a single. Actually, you can maybe see it if I go big screen. I have a single 2020 penny that I got in the middle of June finally. Let's see if this will show up or not. Well, anyways, this is the 2020 penny. It's the only one I have out of the whole collection for this. I guess I'll just mark it off now. But yeah, just one 2020 penny. That's it. Just one. Um, if you're interested, Wacky, so what I'm doing now is studying the flow and the distribution of coins through time, all the way back to the 30s, essentially, all the way up to modern times. But what did we just have for the last 3 months? We had a quarantine during a pandemic. So the 2020 pennies, they were released on the East Coast in March. So the East Coast was getting a whole bunch of 2020 pennies. Whereas on the West Coast, the Denver Mint stopped distributing the 2020 pennies because I think they had an issue at one of the mints where people got coronavirus, and they didn't want to give people coronavirus by distributing 2020 pennies. So the 2020 pennies on the West Coast, I believe they did not start distributing until we reopened at the beginning of June. So this 2020 penny I got did not start circulating until after the quarantine had ended and we started lifting and relaxing restrictions. So the whole reason I didn't see any 2020 pennies in April, May, and then until June, where I would normally see them in like March or April, the New Year's pennies, is just because of the pandemic. So it's been a very unique year to kind of study what's going on with the distribution of coins because essentially nobody was using change except for me during the quarantine. So I just got to like capture a whole bunch of random pennies, which was kind of cool. So that's 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I got 16 from 2017. That's cool. Let's check out the 2016 pennies real quick. I wish my phone would hurry up and friggin' cool down. Maybe gas crisis of 70s too. Yeah, and those are little things. Like you can almost, when you look at like some of my older charts. Yeah. When you look at some of my old charts, you can actually see how things kind of show up. Like you can see there's a lot more coins in 77 as opposed to other years. Like there's certain years where, in fact I can make this bigger to really highlight the point here. There's certain years where, what is this doing? Let's move this. So like here's like the 40s, here's all the way up to like 2019. Here's the 80s right here. So what was going on in the 80s when we stopped making copper pennies? Right? In the 80s, we started making microprocessors, so copper was more valuable in computers. In the 70s, like you said, the gas crisis, all sorts of things going on. But these are just little snapshots of 3 months at a time. So 3 months at a time, 3 months at a time, 3 months at a time. But then I've combined all of these into a massive spreadsheet. And I think you can kind of see it on this one. This is the overall goal of what I'm kind of making. I think this is a better representation. Yeah. So the orange graph is essentially what the mint put out. So the number of coins that were put out as a percentage of the whole. The blue graph is my collection and how it matches up. So if we printed 1 trillion pennies from each year, and I find a certain number of pennies, I can figure out my probability of finding a penny. A better way to put that is for each year, the mint says how many pennies they've created. And I've essentially charted that in orange. So, of all the pennies that have ever been created in time, each of these y values for the orange line is kind of like the probability of finding that penny. And I did the same thing with the blue line, is that here's all the pennies I've ever collected on the blue line, and then here's basically the percentage of the total that they are. And you can start to see how it matches up. Where like in 1964, you can see all the pennies that were pumped out in 1964. 1965, you can see I think this is 1972. Let me double check. So right here is 1972. Wasn't that the gas crisis year? You can see I don't find hardly any pennies from 1972 relative to the probability of it should be existing. Okay, so the blue line is my collection, meaning there's a deficit in my collection. I don't find that penny very often. Okay, when it matches up with the orange line, that means I'm finding pennies at about the rate that they were also put out relative to the whole. So over time, you can see that these older pennies building up to like say the 90s, they stay below that orange line, meaning they've all kind of like decayed away. Whereas as we get into like the later 90s and the 2000s, you start to see that I have a lot more coins of a higher probability relative to what the mint produced. So as you might expect, coins from like the year 2006, they're much more common to find relative to the ones the mint put out. And if you look at pennies from 1972, they're much less common compared to like the general probability of finding a coin from the mint data. Does that help with the interpretation? I explain it differently every time, but I think that's like this is the chart I'm building. This one's a little bit out of date. I've got a much more update one somewhere. But since I've been doing this for 6 years, it's getting more and more and more accurate. So I find, like historically, you can see, like this is 1983. Here's 1982. So 1982 is the year that pennies went from being copper to zinc. So here is the switchover from copper to zinc pennies right here. And so, again, there's more I can do with the data to really massage it, but when I see these peaks and valleys that are matching up, I know I'm doing a pretty good job on the calculations. And then when I look at more modern times, you can just see like how much more common it is to find a coin. So from this data alone, and especially with the numbers, but you can visually see how all these pennies have essentially like decayed away. They're very rare to find, and all these ones are very, very common. They haven't started decaying away as much. And by decay, I mean like destroyed by the mint, lost, thrown into the ocean, turned into bullets, melted down for jewelry, like whatever. But every now and then, you see things that start to line up. And so if I were to recalibrate this data, what I would probably do is do it by like decade and by year. Because right now this is just, percentage of total. It's like, if here's all the 2011 pennies I've ever found in this chart, 21 of them, but then the mint has put out, let's say, like 1.3 billion 2010 pennies, like you can kind of see how the numbers are not going to be perfect, but these are just the 2017, 2018 collection years. This chart's out of date. I don't know where the new one is. But if you look at my newer charts, things shift around a little bit, and so it's getting more and more and more accurate. That's kind of what I've been going for. I just want to know the probability of finding a coin from a certain year. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22 from 2016. What have we here? This is 2015. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Nice even numbers so far. Yeah, and so it's pretty impossible to determine how many have been destroyed, but you can just get a sense for which years are either stuck in collections or don't exist anywhere versus which years are just super common all the time. So 2014, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So you can kind of notice something with this data if I move my fat head here. You can see that, all these years, it's all pretty much the same amount. And then once we get back to 2013, you really stop seeing the penny as much. Because like on 2013, I can count it with one hand. There's only 8 from 2013. So from 71 in 2019 to like 20s for the last 5 years, and then to 2013, only 8 I'm finding. And again, when I combine all the data from like all the years, the statistics kind of even out, and you really start to see that drop off where the mint takes the coins back, it destroys them, makes some more, whatever it happens to be. 2009. 2009 is the most rare penny you can find. Out of all time, it's the year, of course, right during the financial collapse, the least number of pennies were produced. And I'm wondering if 2020 will be the same because of the pandemic, or if they're actually going to ramp it up and start cranking out coins to do some inflationary adjustments and allow them to like print that 3 trillion in money. So here's 2 from 2011, and then 2 from 2010. So those were all the ones from the West Coast. So these are all the West Coast D pennies from the teen years. So now I've got just 4 pennies from the teen years. So one is a 2010 with no mint mark. Always good times. Blame artists making sculptures. Indeed. Next time you destroy a penny, think of Iceman. Think of my struggle. So one from 2014, no mint mark. One from 2015, no mint mark. And one from 2016, no mint mark. So real quick, I'm going to wash my hands, turn the phone back on, see if I can make this more interesting. Getting there. All right, I'm bringing the phone back online. Should be good now. Is this something you wouldn't expect from me, Wacky? I know you don't know me too well. You just kind of, we found each other a couple weeks ago, was it? Due to TF2 Classic. I haven't played it mostly since then, but I caught a couple of your streams watching it. Phone turned off due to heat. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I should have enough battery to finish this. 42%? Yeah, that should be good. Let's see what we got here. So, Iceman West. I must call myself. I'm using 2 different accounts to make the video feed work. So we'll go here. And then swap it. Should be good. Let's see here. Bonk. Is that good? Oh wait, here we go. Yes! We're back in business. I think. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Yep, that's what I wanted. That's the shit right there. Alright, cool. Okay. Well, that was fun. Now, the last one that I have left are all these pennies right here. So this is the 90s. This is the 80s that are made of zinc. And then this is the 2000s. So basically like the Bush years all the way up to 2008. So it's, I don't know, pretty easy to finish off. And then we'll have a nice little beautiful chart here. You can see where it's going to fill in. You can probably guess it's going in this direction in general. So, without further ado, let's do the 2000s. So in terms of 2009 pennies, I think I just have 2, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And then I have a penny that I have to clean that I can't see. So for the 2009 pennies, there's 4 different varieties of 2009 pennies. There's the, well, there's 4, but I've only ever gotten 3 of them. So there's one dude where like he's really tall. It's Abraham Lincoln, commemorative coin. He's like super tall, right? And there's another one where he's sitting on a log. And so I've got one of each of those. So that's all my 2009 pennies. And again, these are some of the most rare pennies you can find right now because very few of them were produced, and everyone collected them. So to find them in change is kind of unique because you really shouldn't find any. So there you go. Next time you're like, hey, I've got an unusual, just remember, I've got a whole bunch of 2009 pennies. Okay, so let's work our way backwards from 2008. So 2, 4, 6, 7 2008 pennies from the West Coast with the D mark. And then 2007, I was just looking at a photograph of myself from 2007 at a family Christmas party, and I looked so much younger and had so much more hair. And I can't believe that was almost 13 years ago. 6, 8, 10, 12 of the 2007 pennies. Wait, what did I do for 2008? Shit, I put the wrong number. How many did I say I found from 2008? Is anybody there still? Am I alone? I'll just recount them all. This happens when I'm trying to stream it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So that's all the pennies from. Oh, where'd that one go? Oh, there it is. So then 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, probably was like 7. I might actually recheck it because I'm starting to feel not confident about that number, which always sucks when I get distracted. So 2008, 2008, 2007, 2007. Just shut up and count your coins. 2008, 2007, 2008. You from 2008? I'm from 2000 and late. 2007, 7, 8, 7, 8, 7, 7, 2007, 2007. So I think I see what I did. And then 2008. So the 2007s, I think there was 12 of them. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Yeah. And then 2008, I had 2, 4, 6, 7. All right, cool. Well, I feel better now. All right. 2006, 2, 4, 6. 2005, there's 5 of them. 2004, 7 of them. 2003, 2, 4, 6. 6 pennies. 2002, that was a crazy year because we were building up for the War on Terror. 7 from 2002. 2001, 2, 4, 6, 7. Holy shit, one of these 2001s is super thick compared to all the other ones. Like, it looks like it's 50% thicker than all the other ones. Like, this is a hell of a thick coin. Thick 2001. What's the deal? It's a really fat coin. Alright, well, whatever. 2, 4, 6, 7 of them. the horrible year of 2001. 4, 6, 8, 9 from 2000. Pre 9/11 coins. Alright, so that was easy. So now, no mint mark. I just got 2 of these from that year. So one from 2007. One. And one from 2001. Meaning only a single coin from the East Coast made it into my collection for that year. For 2001. So for all I know, that's a 9/11 penny. Alright, so now the 90s. We're working our way backwards, slowly but surely. And don't call me Shirley. 1999. One time I didn't do this coin counting for an entire year, so I had 4 collections to go through, like January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, November, December. So like 4 different 3-month periods. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 from 1999. Man, I remember 1999. That was such a good year. 1999 that was the shit. Okay. 2, 4, 6, 7 from, wait, what the hell? What did I just do? Oh, I see. I think I did this right. Yep, come here, pennies. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, so 9. I see. 1. Okay, there we go. 9. 9! So then, is this 1998 pennies? 2, 4, 6, 7. 7 of them. 1997. Now, can you imagine watching me sort all the pennies? That's the one part I try not to stream. Because not many people want to actually see that. 7. Most people just want to see the chart being made. It's much more interesting. 2, 4, 6, 7. Boy, the 90s is pretty consistent. We had a good year. The 90s was good because Microsoft was big in Washington. 5 pennies here. Okay. 1994, the year Kurt Cobain left us. Maybe Pooper's around. Remembers that year. 6. 1993. 1 from the West Coast. In fact, for 1993, I got 2 from the East Coast and 1 from the West Coast. Go figure. Starts to even out as you go further back in time. 2. 1991. Let's go with 2, 4, 5. These are some fat pennies as well. And then from 1990, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And now going back for the no mint mark pennies. Let's see what I've got here. 1998. 1. 1996. 1. 95. We got 2 from the East Coast. 93. I've got 2 from the East Coast. 92. Oh wow. Wait, I have 0 from 92, so then I've got 2 from 91. Is that what I did? Yeah. 2 from 1991, and then 1 from 1990. Oh, look at that. Alright, so there's the 90s. That was pretty easy. And now the 80s, and then it's all over. So again, these are all zinc pennies. Really nothing valuable about them. Most are in crap condition. But in general, the chart's going to look like that. You can see that nice little peak in the 2000s following the War on Terror. In fact, actually, you can't see it right now. There you go. Look at that nice little peak in the 2000s. Very sexy little like peak on there, if peaks can be sexy, you know. All right. But again, I would expect modern coins would be easier to track than the old coins. Old coins, I mean, it is what it is. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Huh. From 1989. Keep going back into the 80s. Ninja Turtles, right? 2, 4, 6 from 88. 1987, the year a supernova went off, or supernova, we detected it. 4. 1986, can't think of anything from 86. 4, 6, 7. 1985, trying to think of something from 85. 2, 4, 6, 7. I don't know, Cold War stuff. 1984, I guess George Orwell. 2, that's going to be 4 from 1984. From 1983, 2, 4, 6. 83 is the first year where all the pennies were made of zinc. There's a couple pennies or like a number that were from 83 that accidentally, quote unquote, were made of copper, and they're worth a shit ton of money. So if I ever find an 83 penny made of copper, I'd be a very rich man. Iceman, very rich Iceman. So then I've got 2 coins from 82 that were made of zinc. So of the 4 types of 82s, I've got 1 of each. So all I usually do is put a note in here that says 1 non-copper and then 1 non-copper no mint mark. It's my system. Don't worry about it. And I'll just increment that by 1, and then I'll increment that by 1. It's a system. It's not perfect, but I know how to use it to like massage the data in the future. Probably should just have 2 different rows. 1 for the copper pennies, 1 for the non-copper pennies, but I've been too lazy to do that for some reason. Alright, and now all we have left are the pennies with no mint mark, and then this chart is complete, and I've essentially completed everything since the year 2012 all the way up to 2020. I've got 1 more new collection going that's essentially July, August, September, but I haven't been spending too much change these last few months, or at least this last month, so it's not really going to be my most accurate one, just because at some point I need to stop this collection hobby obsession with counting coins, and I'm just about ready to do so. But I thought, because of the pandemic, I was like, nope, keep going, Iceman. The pandemic's going to give you interesting data, at least finish off this year, to see how the distribution of coins goes after the pandemic, and maybe then you'll stop. But I don't know, it's kind of hard to want to stop. Like, I almost need somebody else to do it for me, so I can just stop and do other things. You know, stuff like that. Let me go wash my hands. I'll be right back. But that's the chart. It's a pretty decent chart, right? Look at that shit. Sexy little chart. Oh, that's not what I want. I want that. Nope, I want that. Nope, I want that. Okay, that's good. And then, let me save this. Let's go over here. Go, oh, wait, come here. Let's see what the chart looks like real quick. Why is this in the way? There you go. Oh my gosh, LibreOffice, what is your deal here? Okay, just move it. There you go. Holy crap. Come on, LibreOffice. Okay, this is it. I'm closing it, and I'm opening it back up. Jesus Christ, computer. Here it is. Okay. All I wanted to do was stretch this chart. That's all I wanted to do. And it did some weird shit. Okay, I'll be right back. So, yeah, that's the stream. Made the chart. I feel pretty good about it. I'm going to have some cookie and milk, because 2 cookies would be too much. I hope this makes everybody who's watching this think a little bit more about pennies, their distribution, how they float around in time, which ones never exist anymore, which ones are super common, and the fact that I think it's very interesting. I'll be back probably tomorrow to do some Team Fortress 2, but just want to do something really easy and slow and relaxing today, because it's my 1-year anniversary of streaming, so I'll still be around, but probably tomorrow Team Fortress.